Okay, let's see if I can go ahead and get this right this time. This is the fourth time I'm trying to go ahead and record an intro for this podcast. And man, I thought it was going to be easy. I thought right out the gate, I'll go ahead and nail this, tell you what this is about, then boom, get off the mic, shut this sucker down, then post the podcast. But no. Looks like I'm mic shy. Anyway, my name is Brent, and I'm the co-organizer of Current Issues Discussion Group. It's a meetup.com group, and what we do is we get together in Atlanta, Georgia, actually right outside the perimeter of Atlanta, Georgia, and talk about all types of current issues, whether they're political, whether it's philosophical, whether it's sociological, any type of issue that is intellectual in nature, we go ahead and get together and shoot the shit on. Our fearless leader's name is Hoon Kang, and I want to go ahead and thank him for allowing me and giving me the platform to go ahead and podcast some of our sessions. We've been around for quite a while, and we've been having all types of discussions, and I got the idea of why don't we go ahead and try to podcast some of this, record it, go ahead and link it to the meetup group, and allow some of you guys out there in the world to go ahead and listen to people coming from all different walks of life discuss topics, things that concern us. Now, I found this group not by happenstance. I was looking for some outlet for intellectual discourse and discussion. I mean, I have some good friends and whatnot, but a lot of time we don't get into a lot of the intellectual conversation that I enjoy. And I was looking for something more out there. So, I hit the internet, got online, looked around, and boom, before you know it, I'm showing up to Current Issues Discussion Group and having great conversations with all types of people from all walks of life. And what is so interesting about it is just to go ahead and see a representation of everybody's personal perspective being put out there, and seeing the lens that people filter information and current events through. That's what's really interesting to me about a lot of these conversations. Also, what's cool about these conversations is just that you make some awesome friends, some really cool people, which leads me to my next point. I want to go ahead and thank some of the regular folks who come out, particularly Kwaku and Alexandra. Without you guys, this podcast probably wouldn't be happening. Thank you so much for your consistent support. And when you listen to the podcast, or several podcasts after this one, because we're going to go ahead and keep doing it, you'll go ahead and get to know them pretty well too. I also want to go ahead and thank Savannah, Savannah's parents, and Dan for coming out and getting into this conversation. All of you had some awesome things to say, and you too have participated in other conversations in the past. So I want to thank you guys for coming out. So the topic you're about to go ahead and listen to was recorded on July 25th at a local pizza shop just outside Atlanta here. And yes, it was recorded at the pizza shop. So in the background, you're going to hear some cheesy 80s music and a little bit of murmuring of the restaurant that we were in. But it's not that annoying, at least to me. But it's there. Now, I'm pretty sure we'll go ahead and find some other venues to go ahead and record these podcasts. But this is our first one right out the gate here. We're all kind of new to this rodeo, even though I've been listening to podcasts forever. But we're going to go ahead and figure it out. We're going to go ahead and, polish this up and probably have these sessions in some place where it's quiet and you don't go ahead and get that background noise. I don't know. The more I think about it, the more I kind of like the background noise. If you go ahead and ask me, it gives it kind of an atmosphere. But anywho, I think that's about it. How many did I go ahead and say this recording? I don't know. I guess I'll go ahead and count it afterwards. But I'm going to go ahead and leave this one raw. So, I guess without further ado, we'll go ahead and get into the podcast. Thank you, guys. So yeah,
would you like to trade seats? You have a very soft voice.
I'm good.
First,
Thank you.
we were talking about Citizens United before y'all got here, because that's the big thing I think that changed the political landscape, at least in the 21st century or contemporarily. Do any of you know what Citizens United is?
Not exactly.
Not exactly. I don't know
Vaguely.
exactly what it is. So.
I heard of it.
I believe it's.
Isn't that the Koch brothers?
Yeah, in
they
many
probably
ways,
had their
yes.
fingers in it.
Yeah, in many ways, yes.
That made
Corporations have always been a person for the purposes of legal liability. So like if you sue Ford Motor Company, you're not going to get the assets of the shareholders. You're just going to get whatever money Ford has, you know, which may make a difference to Ford, like it certainly did of the old Pinto days, if you remember that one. It almost broke the company. Yeah. The corporations have always been entities for the purposes of taxation. And I believe the theory of that is, since corporations as an entity take social resources to conduct their activities, they have a social debt to pay taxation on. Yeah. But now they're being declared legal persons for the purposes of political activity. They can have, a corporation can have a political opinion now. And in my humble opinion, you can see how it's stretching the definition of person. Like say Ford Motor Company writes a book. No one believes it. They say, who really wrote it? It was a Ford employee. Ford may be publishing it, but it's actually someone, right? Well, same way with a political opinion. Ford doesn't have a political opinion. It's some guy who's in charge of that part of money. So I think that's where a lot of the controversy over Citizens United arises, is that it pushes that legal fiction, in many people's opinion, to the point of absurdity. What, can I next propose marriage to a corporation? Can two corporations marry and divorce?
Yeah, you know, I think that like Citizens United is like a very complicated legal comment section. It's like when you're online and you know you want to sound off at whatever article you're reading or whatever Facebook post you're reading and stuff like that. There's this like kind of fourth wall, right? Where like you can go ahead and be a little bit more nastier than you would be in person, or more exaggerated in your opinion, or more forceful. There's this buffer because nobody can come back and get you.
Yeah.
You know, it's just the comment section. You know, you can scream at you all you want. Nobody's gonna find you. You know, and so you can then just disappear into the ether when you're done. You know, vomiting on Facebook or whatever. And Citizens United is very much like that, as in like the corporate structure is the comment section, and then the person who owns that structure is behind it. So like, you know, they can espouse their personal ideologies using that corporation.
And they don't even have to use their own money. They don't even
have to use their own money, and you can't hold them personally responsible for it. And as a matter of fact, you don't even know who's personally responsible for it, especially with all like the super PACs and stuff, right?
Sure.
You know, and all the dark money and stuff that's out there, right? It's like there's just hundreds of millions of dollars just floating around out there, just you know, going to certain candidates, going to certain like online organizations and stuff like that. And you're like, you know, like, who's behind this? Who are these people? It's like the comment section. All you don't know, really. You know, it's just somebody out there just barking it at you. The consequences are even greater.
Loud voices get heard.
Do you work here?
Oh, yeah.
Can you please lower that music? Because I'm finding it so distracting. Or ask them to.
I don't know. They might just turn it down another notch.
Oh my God.
I mean, they're just going to say that it's for everyone, and we're a minority who's not going to get, you know, their way.
Do you think we could turn down that speaker?
Oh, the speaker? The individual speaker? I doubt it.
I don't, it's okay. I'll deal with it. I am. I'm just trying hard to focus.
If you're paying attention to it, then that's like, it's hard to
Right.
tune
And
it
if I
back
didn't
out.
know the songs, it would also help that I know the songs. But it'll be okay.
I would have asked the manager, this manager tonight. He's
Not the right one.
No, he has some anger management problems. He actually.
Come back.
He's gonna edit it.
We'll make sure to keep that part in.
Yeah.
The manager at Dagwood, she's
Yeah, blackmail. We'll have free drinks for the
That's
rest
right.
of
I
the
mean,
time.
he actually used to throw pizza pans at people. I heard.
Really?
But he's controlled something.
He's calmed down now?
A bit, yeah.
A little bit, a tiny bit. That's interesting.
Can we edit the throwing pizza pans in there somehow?
Yeah, I'll make sure to do it.
Oh,
At Dagwood's, they throw pizza pans.
frankly, what I'd like to find is someone to defend Citizens United.
Is that
Yeah.
a rule, a law,
Supreme
or a
Court
group?
case.
It's a case.
So,
Okay.
according to Wikipedia, here's the brief on it.
Yeah, back
It
then.
says Citizens United versus the Federal Elections Commission. This is back in 2010. It's a landmark U.S. constitutional law and corporate law case dealing with regulation of campaign spending for organizations. The United States Supreme Court held a 5-4 on January 21st, 2010, that freedom of speech prohibits government from restricting independent political expenditures by nonprofit corporations, for-profit corporations, labor unions, and other associations, or whatever that means. In the case, the conservative nonprofit organization Citizens United wanted to air a film critical of Hillary Clinton and to advertise the film during television broadcasts shortly before the 2008 Democratic primary election, in which Clinton was running for U.S. president. This will violate a federal statute prohibiting certain electioneering communications near an election. The court found the provisions of the law that prohibited corporations and unions from making such electioneering communications to conflict with the U.S. Constitution, bring the freedom of speech. Obviously this old school PAC wanted to go ahead and put out one of those YouTube type videos about the dangers of Hillary Clinton, would allow them to do it, and they were like, well, wait a minute, you're limiting our freedom of speech, as if that organization was,
So pretty much the corporations have freedom of speech just like people do. That's kind of what they're saying.
exactly.
Although, if you look up the group Citizens United, you'll find they're extremely well funded. And I think this may have been a YouTube-style video in terms of its conception. It was being aired in theaters. They actually had money behind it.
Yeah, it makes sense because after this, all of these type of YouTube documentaries on Barack Obama, on Hillary Clinton, the Clintons, everybody could think of just started coming out of the woodwork on YouTube. It was like Clinton
sure.
Cash or whatever that documentary was called. And then they had one about Obama being a secret Muslim somewhere, and all that type of thing.
But you
All
gotta
just
have
come out of the woodwork.
But you got to have real money to actually have it at Regal Cinemas.
Anyone can put a video on YouTube.
That's the danger of it. It's not the idea that just somebody out there creating content that's bashing a candidate. Is that these organizations aren't people. They have tons and tons of cash, and their voice can silence the voices of millions of people out there, or affect the way that they think.
So they're not made up of people?
They are made up of people, but do all those people, represent that one viewpoint?
No. But I guess playing devil's advocate,
Please.
you could maybe make an argument that, let's say the corporation is doing whatever is in its best interest, which you could make the argument that that would in turn be the best interest of all of its employees.
And shareholders.
And shareholders. So maybe let's say if I'm the CEO of GM, for instance, and I contribute X amount of money to a certain candidate. Again, I say in theory because in actuality it's usually to help themselves, but you could make the argument that, well, I'm doing this, or I want this to come out because I have 10,000 employees, I have 20,000 shareholders that I have to account for. Those are all people in themselves.
Go ahead. Sorry. Well, so what's good for General Motors is good for the country.
You could say, exactly.
Which is a
You could say
defensible
that.
point. Which is a defensible point.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's like capitalism, right? Like the businesses do good to help the people.
Sure.
Kind of.
Yeah, I mean that's rough there.
Yeah, I mean,
because it sounds great, right?
Well,
It's like
is
I can
that
see
their
somebody like
argument?
saying that. They're like, yeah, you know, what's good for GM, you know, it's good for the nation. Look how many people we employ.
You know, with what we're talking about, maybe the argument could be, is money in politics the problem, or what they do, or our system, our voting system, is maybe fundamentally flawed. So,
There was a guy who ran for, I think it was governor. He's out of politics now. His name's Jim Martin. He was running on the Democratic ticket like many years ago. It was amazing how much politics is done in people's houses. They invite the candidate to come to their house and a bunch of people to get together to listen to them, and then usually fork out as much money as they can to help support it. But I remember there, and I must admit I was being a real jerk. I can't remember the question I asked, but I wanted to see how he'd respond to a hostile question, because I knew as the campaign got going, he would become under attack as much. Because even though I supported him, I wanted to see how. And I don't even remember my question, or I remember his answer, and it was something on the order of you could tell how advanced the society is, in his opinion, by how well it cares for the 5 traditionally disadvantaged groups. I always try to remember which 5 they are. Children was one, the sick was another, the criminal was another, the elderly was another. I think maybe the mentally ill was the last one. Now, if you take Mr. Martin's ideas as useful, then you have to ask yourself, how well do corporations deal with the needs of those 5 groups?
Yeah.
wouldn't it depend on the corporation? I mean, I'd say by and large, not very well. Or at least
Right.
the perception
I'm
is
assuming, yeah, none
After
at
all,
all.
none of those 5 groups are employable.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's true.
Now, of course, they usually have family members that are.
Their family members being employed, that money could trickle to them in some way.
Which I think is exactly where the name trickle-down economics came from.
Yeah. Somebody's going to take care of you. You know, you'll figure it out.
Well, then also everyone thinks they're giving the money towards the good cause, or at least they might say they do. But obviously some donations are going to go towards one group and some will go towards another group, and one group's usually more helping, the sick and the poor and the children than maybe another group.
So it seems like with Citizens United here, at least part of the argument from what I'm reading is that the reason why they won is that these people who develop these documentaries, like the one they're talking about was called Hillary the Movie. It was pretty much a slander documentary against Hillary Clinton. And the real issue was that there was these corporations,
Thank you.
groups behind them that wanted to go ahead and advertise the actual film. And so it wasn't really the idea of like somebody produced it and put it out there. It was the idea that some money was financing it to be advertised to a large group of people, to the public. And it was inside of this 60 to 30-day window. And so these people who wanted to advertise the video came together and said that our expenditures on putting this film out there is essentially, the same thing as free speech, is our speech. We agree with this video, we want to advertise it and put it out there. That we want to
This
put
is my
our
voice.
opinion out there, yeah. So we should be able to do that. And you can't, so if you limit our advertising, you are limiting our freedom of speech. And so the Supreme Court was like, sounds legit, and went ahead and let it happen. Now, so the big contesting argument here is financing political speech, is that somebody's opinion and their freedom of speech? Is that their voice? Come on.
I'm having really
Wait,
a hard time
wait.
understanding the pro argument.
Are you saying that,
That's the pro
are you
argument.
saying
I
that
know, it
Roger
just seems
Moore,
like
you couldn't
such a-
advertise a Roger Moore documentary?
You couldn't do it within 30 to 60 days before
Is
an
he,
election.
that's still,
That's gone now.
right, so you think back then that would have been okay? I had no idea there was a 30 or 60 day.
Why was that in place?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I have to go ahead and read more of this. Okay, so it seems like Citizens United was saying that, hey,
You've done it
Michael
before.
Moore did it.
Well, see, and that's what happens. You can't, and I'm not a Citizens United fan.
Yeah.
But then you get into who's going to decide what is and what isn't allowed.
Well,
And
it says
that's their exact
associations, right? Like
Yeah.
that's very vague. Because we started off talking about corporations, but you could also have just like a person who's just like influencing.
So let's
a
go
topic.
back in
Right.
time a little bit.
Association, like,
Well, like because in the Supreme Court ruling, it just said, NGOs or nonprofits, for-profits, and associations. So like, that could be a church group, that could be us, that could be like anything. It's so vague, not necessarily corporations. Like,
So
those
this is
kinda
the
count.
FEC statement on that, with what you just said, Kwaku. The complainant alleged that the release and distribution of Fahrenheit 9/11 constituted an independent expenditure because the film expressly advocated the defeat of President Bush, and that by being fully or partially responsible for the film's release. Michael Moore and other entities associated with the film made excessive and/or prohibited contributions to unidentified candidates. The commission found no reason to believe the respondents violated the act because the film, associated trailers, and websites represented bona fide commercial activity, not contributions or expenditures as defined by the Federal Election Campaign Act. So what you're saying is that this was produced for people to buy and consume as a product, not necessarily produced as the contributions weren't there to defeat like an election.
Well,
Again, that's very judgment. That's very. A lot of people could argue the other way.
well, you raise a very nice point as well. Imagine I made a movie extolling the horrible past behavior of a candidate without ever once saying don't vote for him,
Right.
Yeah,
because
Yeah.
it's still
And you say
political.
it's documentary, no matter how biased
Yeah.
it is.
And if
exactly. And
it's-
that's what Fahrenheit 9/11 did. It's pretty much like, hey, this is all the terrible
Yeah.
stuff this person did.
Well-
I'm not saying you shouldn't vote for him. I'm not going to say that.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
Well,
I just
well,
swear my mother and her friends saw this Hillary one. Because my mother said, I saw something about all the bad things she did.
yeah,
I saw Clinton Cash.
yeah,
That's
the
what
Clinton Cash,
yeah. To me, it was the same old kind of thing.
yeah. So Citizens United brought up this and was like, okay, well, if you guys are going to rule this way, saying that, hey, this is some type of commercial activity, why isn't ours the same? And so the FCC was saying that, well, it's because you're doing it within 30 to 60 day period. And so then that's when Citizens United was like, well, that's kind of arbitrary. It's like 30 to 60 days. I mean, what does that even mean? So, if I would have did this earlier, then it would have been fine.
Yeah, 60 days.
I mean, how are you measuring me financing the documentaries as some type of contribution? Especially if you're not considering the people who financed Michael Moore's film a contribution. It's just commercial activity.
Well, although it seems as if we've also jumped a species line here. Does it say how it got from a corporation in their own names producing a movie or an advertisement or even sponsoring an event versus that same corporation dropping $100 million on a super PAC that supports the Republican Party? One's anonymous, the other's not.
Not, definitely.
I mean, if Koch Industries sponsors a hit piece on Bernie Sanders or something, at least I know who's behind it. I know who's doing it.
Yeah.
And isn't that part of the law now that you have to say who funded it?
Who funded the super PAC contribution?
Yeah.
Well, not the contributions itself, but like when you see an ad, it'll say this ad was funded by.
They say the name of the super PAC,
But
but
the
you
way
don't know
they get
who put
around
that
it though
money
is
in
that
the
they
super
create
PAC.
a super PAC that's
Right.
generic.
And who knows
Who knows what it is, and then the other people in the organization just contributed to it. So it's coming from Super PAC X. But who is that? What does that even mean? What do they even
It
stand
has
for?
like an
You just don't
innocuous
know.
name, but then
Yeah,
like,
exactly. But the donations
Citizens
to it
for
are
America,
anonymous.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so it's like it's a shell. It's pretty much a shell corporation for contribution.
I think you might be able to tell who organized the PAC, but of course, if they They got 5 homeless people to organize the PAC when it was even still a PAC. But
Yeah.
I don't know much about super PAC regulations, although maybe we all remember when Stephen Colbert created one.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right.
Oh,
Didn't he have to stop
That's
because he was
right,
getting
yeah.
too much money?
That was
Stop.
awesome.
Right.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
Oh, that was absolutely. He did it as a half stunt. As he basically got a lawyer to come on. What was the name of that?
What's the name? The Colbert Report?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I just saw something recently, and it's not politics, but a big. Oh gosh, it was some religious organization gave this college $3 million a year as donations, and so they kind of requested that this college disband their LGBTQ organization, and the college said no, so they stopped those donations, and the college said fine to $3 million a year, but like they have power.
Well, that's what I mean. And
Which actually, I approve of that. If you want to put strings on your donation, let's see if they
Well,
have.
it's like they can do whatever they want with their
it's
money,
kind of like
but
the
it's
church.
like
If the church wants to take a side, they have that right. And members who believe in that will continue to go, and members who don't and donate, and those who
Well,
don't will find another church.
I wonder if corporations make that argument.
Oh, definitely.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. If you're gonna,
If you want to speak, go ahead.
yeah, join in all the way. You want to put your feet in the water, jump in.
Well, now that we're becoming aware of corporations' opinions and beliefs, because now they make statements or they put stuff on social media, and so you know that this group is against whatever,
Yeah.
and so they could all maybe make the argument that we have this money from people who are supporting us. You buy from Hobby Lobby, you know that they were against the transgender law or whatever, so they could argue maybe that well, if you don't like us and what we're doing with our money, you don't buy from us.
Well, I was just going to say, I find it very risky for a corporation. I will never buy anything from Under Armour. I will never go to Hobby Lobby. I mean, they're taking a chance when they put their position out there, and I don't think they should.
What do they
but
have
if
to
they feel
benefit
strong
from
enough
it?
to do,
If-
I think they just want to.
Although I challenge you to find a way to not do business with Koch Industries.
Yeah.
Right. But, well, I listened to this 2-part interview with one of the Koch brothers, and if you were to listen to him, and maybe he's just very good at presenting it, and I was totally anti-Koch. He's not. He presents himself as not this evil doer that you
You
imagine.
imagine him with
He just wants to help America. He mentioned laws that he supports that would cost them billions of dollars a year in their business.
That do cost them.
If
That
those
would.
laws were enacted, they would cost him billions a year. But they support those laws because they would help the country. Everything he does is about helping how he feels, his personal
Well, everyone
perspective
thinks they're
on
helping the country in some
Right,
ways.
Right.
Well, the problem is that, it's great and all you want to help the country, but this still nation is not just about you and
Yeah.
what you think is good for the country.
Right, it's his
A
A
view.
lot of people
Exactly.
think,
It's like,
things good for the country would take us back 50 years.
Exactly. My problem with these massive corporations is that, some of them, they honest to God believe that, from what you said there, from that Koch interview, is that they believe that they're like stewards of like American society and like all levels.
Yeah,
like
so-
they are the paternal or maternal figures of like every single person in the United States.
Right.
And they're ordained by their success to come up with the direction
Okay.
of the country.
All right, but
you know?
if you did have that kind of success and you felt that strongly about something, then you should do what you could. Use your money, your success, to help other people. And, in this respect, it's not helping by donating to the poor or the homeless. It's by getting America on the right track again.
I find this very confusing.
Or just whatever. Well, you have to look at
Well,
the
what's
name of
it
the bottom
confused
of the check.
Well, what
I'm having.
Roger Moore makes a movie.
Music, but I'm just really having trouble understanding what this is all about.
Roger Moore makes a movie that would help one candidate, and then Citizens United comes out with a movie that we would look at like a conspiracy movie,
Okay.
which are those totally bogus movies,
Okay.
and they want to put that out, and they say no, you can't. So they're saying, well, why can't I? But Roger Moore puts out Fahrenheit. Michael Moore's like, and then they said, well, you know what? You're right. So there's like really no rules anymore, because who's going to judge what you're allowed to put out your opinion, but you're not allowed to put out your opinion.
Okay.
So now it's nobody's opinion. Everybody can put out.
Because you could even assume that, like, in both documentaries, all the facts are accurate, but they're just skewed in a very one-sided sounding way.
Well,
Yeah, because the distinctions in the past were that, you know, if like corporations in financing the distribution of movies against candidates and stuff like that, that was considered electioneering. You were trying to go ahead and affect an election one way or another as a corporation. And you cannot do that within 30 to 60 days before a given election.
Why would it be 30 to 60?
so
Why
That's
not
just
60?
what they came up with.
Yeah, but it's
That was
60.
what they
What's
came
the
up with,
30?
30 to
Sure,
60
it was
days. Who
arbitrary.
knows why?
Okay.
whatever.
And so these corporations said that, like, you know, well, yeah, first of all, you know, I mean, what's the point, 30 or 60
Yeah.
days? And secondly, you know, this corporation, you know, being an entity in advertising, you know, we're trying to put out a public opinion. You know, we're trying to put out our voice. And by you saying we can't do this between these times, you're smothering our voices as a corporation, which means that you're limiting freedom of speech. You can't do that. You can't limit our freedom of speech.
Well-
you know, by financing and putting forth this movie.
And business purpose doesn't necessarily help, because imagine you appoint yourself dictator and say, well, you have to have a business purpose of electioneering or making a movie. You have to identify the corporation with a message, right? Well, Koch Industries spins off a subsidiary corporation for the purpose of making movies, and
Right.
that's that. So yeah, that doesn't work either. So because there was Michael Moore created a corporation for the purpose of making that movie. Koch Industries is in the energy business. How do you distinguish between these two entities?
Right.
So do you understand, General?
I do. I
Okay.
do.
It's
It's just such a mess.
It is.
So
Well,
I
that's
guess
the
I do
whole-
understand,
yeah.
right? It's a mess.
Yes.
It is a mess. I personally don't think that corporations should have that power. You know?
Well,
They
maybe.
shouldn't-
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'll go for it.
Well, I was thinking, so if we all kind of think that it's bad, what kind of regulations would we have that would work?
Well, first of all, the
Let's solve
corporation
this.
isn't a person. It's not a person.
It's not.
an entity.
And I think I'm with you. My
Yeah.
basic, very
Exactly.
subtle understanding of this, I think I'm with you that this is.
So I think individual contributions are fine. I think that,
Uncapped. Uncapped.
I was just about to say.
Yeah.
yeah, I think individual contributions uncapped are fine.
Does it have to be? Do we have to know who gave that contribution?
I don't know
Yeah.
if that would change anything.
I don't.
Well,
I
because
agree.
there's a
It's
difference.
almost as bad.
There's a difference between a corporation that has, you know, X billions of dollars and somebody putting up their own assets, their own money to go ahead and like.
But even if it's
Well,
X
but-
billion,
But
I think
Matt.
corporations have a
Yeah.
lot more money than the average person's like assets, like person.
now, although that has a point. Imagine I want to take my individual money to get my voice heard around the world.
Yeah.
So I joined together with the other people at this table to take our individual money
Oh gosh.
to make an extremely persuasive film, well-researched, hard-hitting, to persuade people. On the other, so we have to have cameramen, we have to have writers, we have to have publicists, we have to have employees. Are you going to do that out of your own liability? No, you're going to form a corporation to manage
agreed.
that.
Okay, well, I
product.
revise what I say then. Maybe there needs to be a cap. You know.
I think a
Corporate-
cap
so-
is the. I think campaign spending is the issue.
Yeah.
Period. You know, and I wish we didn't have any donations. I wish that they got every
just ran on.
every candidate got a certain amount of money
Yeah.
from the government,
Yeah.
and
That's all
they
you
ran
got.
on that.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense instead of trying to distinguish and clarify and who's a corporation and who's not, and are three people together, is that a group, and like whatever. Just saying maybe you can do donations but not over like an amount. I mean, I'm sure someone's gonna get around something no matter what you put there, but just make it hard. You could just say like have some kind of cap.
Yeah.
Yeah, Citizens United's argument is that, but my money is my voice. You know.
No, it's not.
I
I just say no.
Playing devil's advocate.
But how loud should your voice be? I guess.
Yeah.
Right, and
what is
just
money
because you have a lot of
power?
money, your voice is louder. That's not,
Not fair.
That is not fair.
They feel like they have a duty and like a responsibility,
Yeah.
but
A
really
Citizens
it's like
United person would say
everyone
that.
thinks
So
they're
what
right.
you're going to stop me from spending my own money? You know, that's what they're saying. You're going to stop me from spending my own hard-earned cash, from putting my ideas out there by funding the this and that and stuff. I can't do that now.
Yes,
You
we
know,
have lots
that's what
of.
that's what they would argue.
We have endless amounts of regulation on how people spend their own money.
Yeah, and they would argue so nobody
Yeah,
can
actually we
advertise.
do.
So nobody can advertise. Is that
So,
what you're saying?
What are you also saying, that I shouldn't be able to spend my money on a building that doesn't meet building code?
Yeah, I was gonna say, am I allowed to spend my money on something?
You know?
Something legal, a nuke,
Yeah, right.
something
Yeah,
like.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There aren't, like you said, regulations on what we can.
And don't
cannot spend our
a
money.
lot of other countries have limits,
Yes.
like Canada and stuff, on what you could spend on your election?
I don't know.
And
You-
They do.
I'd say like.
Right. The
and,
no
like,
18-month election
Exactly.
period.
That's to me is huge. As someone who's not from here, that absolutely just boggles my
Yeah.
mind.
What
How-
does?
The
like
amount of
how,
time you
let's
could
say
spend
someone's in office
campaigning.
for 4 years,
Oh, yeah.
2 years of that.
They're
is-
starting.
Right.
And then it takes away
insane.
takes away from their job when they have to focus so much
And
energy
they'll admit
on
that. They
Yeah.
have to stop, they have to start missing
now they're
votes in the
campaigning
Senate
again.
because they're back out on the road
I wish
campaigning.
they'd give each of them a cable channel and let them do everything.
Yeah, knock yourself out, right?
And some countries have rules like very. I think it's the UK. There's like 3 months of
I was
campaigning
gonna
that
say,
you
it's
Yeah.
have.
about,
It's like
it's about
that's
2
it.
months. France is 6 weeks. And
Wow.
That's it.
See,
That'd be
Yeah.
that would have been nice.
In-
And then the
insane
week
what we
before or
have.
the
Like-
weekend before, you can't.
Yeah.
It's over.
And all this money, and it has turned, our election system into a small, like a micro, economy. It's like when election season hits, corporations come out the woodwork making money, doing all
But
this.
is
It
it the
becomes
money
a
or
small.
is it the other way around?
What do you mean?
Has the money turned it into that, or is the money just feeding that beast that already exists?
Well,
Well,
look
the
at the
money
Oswald
created that.
Handle.
Well,
thing.
yeah,
There was an unprecedented amount of money was thrown at
It was
both
like
of those
56
candidates.
million.
Yeah, and-
$56 million.
It's the most ever spent on a
and
congressional.
the TV
election.
stations in Georgia were like,
Going
this is
wild.
like
Yeah, it
this
was
was
really annoying.
this was like they didn't anticipate this, but they made tons of money.
Now, somebody as citizens, some libertarian Koch would say that. So you're telling me now that all citizens can't voice their opinion on the candidates that are out there, who want to be elected to these offices?
Okay,
That's not
all
democratic.
citizens get the same equal vote, so they should all get the same equal
Koch would say that,
voice.
but I can't. But you can't go out and put a sign on your yard advertising the things that you want.
And also,
That's what Koch would say.
Coates might also say John Ossoff had the most money and he still
He
lost.
still lost. So what does it
Yeah,
matter?
they'll argue that money doesn't necessarily mean you get a vote.
Oh, right, that'll defend their position.
And what a waste
Well,
of money.
Maybe to play a little devil's advocate, like campaigns are expensive, right? We all agree on that. If we take all this money out, who's going to pay for people to knock on doors and to get ad TV time and
Well,
things like
frankly,
that?
no one paid me.
Sorry?
No one paid me.
Right, our son was
Well,
knocking
we
on
could put
doors.
a cap so you get enough to run a campaign, but not like insanely. You put some ads, you do whatever we said
Right.
would be the.
Sure. So
And-
I think it's just, again, I always think it's the system that is really flawed. The money, to me, is kind of a symptom. It's like someone coughing when they have a cold. It all goes back to the way it's kind of set up. I wouldn't say it's set up wrong, because that's the wrong way to put it.
How our electoral system is designed.
Exactly. I think that's really what we need to get at changing.
Well, although we can limit it somewhat. Basically, Citizens United said that there are no fetters on the amount of money or the kind of money or where they can spend their money between corporations versus individuals. I don't think they ever addressed, like if I had $100 million, they never addressed whether I could drop it all on a candidate. They were addressing corporations, right? Yet it seemed to ignore the idea that every constitutional right we have does in fact have fetters, that is in fact restricted for reasons that we consider socially desirable.
Well, it's like you mentioned. Oh, sorry. Were you done?
Well, come on, go ahead.
like you mentioned Koch's Libertarian, and you could argue that so many points of libertarianism that they make sense, and like they should have, people should be able to do what they want. But we have rules for a reason because something's not working. Like
Right.
it'd be great to not have a law. Or this is maybe more like anarchy versus not, but like to have a law like you can't murder people. Like we shouldn't have to have that law. We should just not murder people. But we have it for a reason. So if our campaign spending is out of control, it doesn't matter what like. I mean, it's not like it doesn't matter what your rights are, but you have to limit it somehow. That's what
Right.
laws are for.
It's just like, you have to limit people's actions through laws. In other aspects, you also should limit their political actions through laws, their donations.
Well,
Therefore-
this is why folks like the Kochs don't like government. I must admit, I have a cousin who's very worldly, very intelligent, very well educated. When I made this assertion, she just like hit the wall. But I pointed out what seems obvious to me is that government's primary purpose is regulatory. It doesn't make a product. It doesn't. In fact, the whole idea of running government like a business just shows you don't know
Oh
what
gosh,
government's for.
It's not a
It's to
business.
regulate to make things go smoothly. There's no end product.
I mean,
kind
And
of
protect
it
people
regulates
from
human behavior.
themselves
I mean,
and others.
the military is to regulate access to our borders or our interests, or that's probably the most kind of the edge of that analogy. But
Well, it's like you want to keep regulating with the military. You don't want to come to a point of crisis. You want to just keep maintaining.
So what was her problem with that?
well, she just didn't understand the regulatory aspect of it, and I'm not sure why she didn't understand it.
Well, also because now politics, it seems like everyone wants to win, and it's like
Right.
But on the other
There's
hand-
no meeting.
But otherwise,
Yeah, just a partisan abstraction at this
Us
point.
versus
no, on the
them.
other hand, the archetypical example is freedom of speech does not cover yelling fire in a movie theater. You know?
Right.
It doesn't cover getting on the microphone and saying,
Perfect example.
I want Hillary Clinton assassinated today.
and libel
Right.
and slander. You can't just go say whatever you want about people. That's not true.
Well, that's always
People
my
can't do
argument
that.
against
that's what
libertarians.
they
If
do.
any libertarian is here, that's always my argument, is that, or people against government regulation. Every rule that's in there came up for a reason to stop some abuse or that was being perpetrated.
It's kind of like the joke of when you see a funny sign
Libertarian would say,
somewhere.
hold up, bro. Hold on a second here. How is, me creating a movie or holding a sign or putting a sign in my yard endangering other people? It's not the same thing.
Another beer.
It's not the same thing. That's what they will argue. A libertarian would be like, I'm not arguing for anarchy. Yes, there needs to be
Yes, they
some
are.
type of, restrictive government system. But at the same time, though, it's too much right now. They shouldn't be limiting stuff that's not harming people.
But everything that came up was harming somebody, or they wouldn't have made
Right,
the
that's how
regulation.
they-
That's where it came from.
Yeah,
Well, Citizens United is legal now because they found out it wasn't harming anybody, right?
well, they decided I wonder. Well, the sign of the yard. Well, why is it unreasonable to have a regulation that says you can put all the signs you want in your front yard up to $10,000? Why is that a bad regulation? Well, but I have more than $10,000.
Right.
Well, so.
I have a huge yard. I can fit 5 million signs. I have a golf course. I'm going to fill it
Well,
with.
so the point is, you made your point, and you're overwhelming the voices of people who don't have 10,000.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it's that, eventually, somewhere you go, if you walk long enough, metaphorically, your rights is going to go ahead and meet the barrier of somebody else's rights.
Well-
And there has to be, some type of structure there at that, there has to be some definition point, some type of boundary.
It's almost like
Even if you never run up to the boundary, you never knock against it,
he made me think that it's almost like I'm taking my vote, my one vote that I'm entitled to, and turning it into I'm getting thousands of
Right.
votes
Yours is
because
more
I'm able
important.
to influence other people.
Yeah.
And by me being able to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to influence other people, I'm really getting more than my
Right,
one.
it's not fair.
That-
We're
right.
all supposed to be equal.
Right.
And you have to also think that, laws and regulations shouldn't be created after there's a problem. Like, right?
Although they all
But that's
like,
yeah.
In
like
fact, they
not
always
every
are.
law that's created should be like after the fact, after there's a major blow up. Our government system, I think, to be functioning correctly, should have some type of anticipatory, maybe logic behind it.
But then you might end up with all these extraneous laws that we don't need, trying to prevent things from happening, where sometimes you don't know something's going to be a problem until
Well,
it
sometimes
happens.
you do.
Like, you might pass a law that you think is good, and it has this unattended side effect, and now
True.
you need a little rule to, like,
True.
cap that.
Yeah, I
Like,
think-
like,
Then you're putting your finger in all
At the end of the day,
but how, you can't,
laws
there's no
are-
way to, like, block it all at once.
At the end of the day, laws are like kind of reactionary.
Yeah,
Eventually
and
it
I'm
is.
okay with that.
But I think that there's no harm in, like, if you got the data, and the data points to certain actions may lead to, like, certain negative consequences, then yeah,
Right.
you should go ahead and put up a fence at those consequences.
Well, in other words, you're talking about climate change.
Yeah, exactly.
Correct.
Should we sit around and just wait for things to happen? Be like, okay, now
Now
let's go ahead
Miami's
and
on the
try to do
water.
a
What are we
CO2.
going to do? Yeah.
Right.
Well,
I mean, we've waited too long as it is.
well,
Because people have to see the negative happen first, and
Right.
so it's like,
Yeah.
And even now, people are like, that's not climate change.
yeah,
No,
right.
man.
I think if we put a cool July,
I
we've
think
actually
California needs to sink into the Pacific Ocean, and then maybe people will start
Maybe.
believing it. In the U.S. at least.
I guess piggybacking on the climate change, could we make the argument that sometimes corporations with money is a good thing? Let's say Tesla, for instance.
That's my man.
Yeah.
Talk bad about Elon. Yeah.
Yeah, but they still, until at least a few months, they have the government grant where you get, I think it's like $5,000-$6,000 back for buying an electric vehicle. I'm sure that was done with some kind of lobbying /
Oh, yeah.
money.
In fact, I think California has recently ended its startup program
Or something like that as well.
to put up at public expense charging stations for electric vehicles.
Exactly. So I'm sure
They're
that,
trying to match what they did, call it 80 years ago when they were making filling stations.
yeah, and I'm sure the genesis of that involved money going into someone powerful people's pockets. So so it's again, is the problem money or what the kind of the corrupt part, I guess, of what some of these people are doing?
Yeah, but Tesla's charging stations are all done by him.
They are?
Yes.
I don't think so.
I think they
Tesla
are.
charging
It's all because it
stations?
promotes his business. It helps to sell his cars.
Well, yeah, but as I say, I saw charging stations. There've been charging stations for years in Costco's parking lot.
But are they the
I don't
Tesla
think Elon
ones?
Musk put them there. I don't think.
Are they the
Can you put this
Tesla
behind
charging?
me? I'm gonna
Are they the
if anybody
Tesla
wants anything,
charging
grab some, it's
stations?
gonna be on the table
He has
behind me.
proprietary.
Yeah, he does.
Okay.
And they're red, and they're fast charging. They charge twice as fast as other ones. And
So
they-
it doesn't have a standardized plug. You can't charge a
you can get an
an
adapter, but yeah, but you can't always charge anywhere.
Oh, how
But he has his
sad.
own with the name Tesla on them, and he puts them out there.
And frankly, that's what government's good for.
And he's going to
you know?
start charging.
Although-
He's going to start charging money for
I mean, can you
people
imagine?
grandfathered in. Though will continue to get free charging.
Can you imagine what would have happened to our country if I wonder? Oh, that's a good question.
But
I
it's
don't
a-
know
it's
who
a-
made
it's-
the regulation
but that's a
as to how
business.
wide the gauge on railroads are. Can you imagine if each railroad company had a different gauge? They did for a while.
Right.
But something happened that made them standardize the gauge on railroad cars so
Well,
that everyone could run on each other's
Now I'm
tracks.
starting to sound like a libertarian, but if
Yeah.
he wants people to buy his cars, they have to be able to like drive across the country from charging station to charging station, and he made sure that that is possible on any route that you're going to take, and you could look on your app and you know where you could go. And if he didn't have that, people would be less likely to buy his car.
Well, no, they definitely want to get in the business of making adapters because that's why I won't buy Apple. I mean, I don't want their proprietary stuff.
Yeah,
I don't want their. I mean, I don't want to have to buy Apple's charger to charge.
Right,
me.
yeah,
Well,
exactly.
But
but you're right. That's a business
I
decision.
agree. It's a business decision that ended up benefiting, or hopefully is going to end up benefiting
Everyone.
So that mindset, isn't that a similar mindset to the Koch, for instance, where, hey, we're doing this because it's going to benefit everyone.
Yeah.
We just happen to disagree,
Right.
you know?
Right.
But is-
And that's where that.
But is there a
interview was
difference
very
between
interesting.
corporate activity and political speech? Political speech, choosing our leaders, if we can give back to those 5 disadvantaged groups that are nonetheless a part of our society? Could have a whole other session on healthcare delivery in America.
Yeah, wow.
And I hope we will.
So here's an interesting
afraid to
aspect
get
of
started on that.
corporations and political power, and just power in the government in general, or in our nation, is that I know you guys have seen Mark Zuckerberg started walking around in a suit and tie with like a pen and stuff, right?
2024.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen. They're already lining
Which, by the
them
way,
up.
that's to me even scarier. The owner of the biggest media empire.
Well, he
in the
can
world.
influence
Well, how much
elections.
power then?
They,
That's like-
Facebook
yeah.
has done studies, and they can influence people's voting habits.
Yeah,
And not just in
Absolutely.
this country, the whole world.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
seriously.
I know.
That's kind
Think
of
about
like,
that.
I
That
don't know,
is
which are you more
scary.
comfortable
Yeah.
with, Mark Zuckerberg
Yeah.
for president or Dwayne Johnson? The Rock.
Right.
I haven't heard Oprah. Oprah.
I mean,
I
it's
mean,
like
Donald
I
Trump's
like Oprah.
president, so everything's on the
That's
table
what it
right now.
seems like,
Honey Boo
that
Boo,
everyone's
oh,
just
yeah.
like-
Excellent, yeah.
Right?
Right, but I heard the other day that, this one person was saying that he's setting such a poor example that any other famous
Mark
people
Cuban.
are going to
exactly
be.
the bar's so low now.
Yeah, it
Right,
doesn't matter what you've done in the
they
past.
won't fare well. Yeah, but as far as people wanting to hire an ex-actor or non-politician, they may not be so keen on it this time because he's doing so. But they tried it and it's not working. So let's go back to a politician.
I wonder if in the future there'll be like less people, more people like in Congress and presidents who haven't even been in law school.
Kid Rock is.
That-
Yeah, Kid Rock.
Please,
No,
please,
I'm
please.
serious. That is
For
not a
Senate?
joke.
I'm leaving.
I-
All right.
That is not a joke.
But that leads to my other. I'm thinking. I think it's been pretty evident in the last few elections that it's such a thankless job that
Well, yeah.
we're getting less and less qualified people who
Exactly,
want
that
to
is
do
true
it,
too.
and our choices get worse and worse year after year because
Because if you're
who,
smart,
And people
who's
get beat
smart?
up. The people
who's
who
gonna go
really
through
want to
that?
do
Right,
it,
who
and
have
then they
all
have
everything they ever done just dug up.
Right, and
and
then
the
every
people who
day
want to
they
do
go
something,
through
they have
that.
to spend so much time and energy on the campaign part, and that they feel
That
like
too,
they don't
yeah.
get
And
they
they
don't
just
get
get-
to do what they want to do that like matters, and then they feel
Yeah.
like they can't vote their conscience and what they told people they were going to vote for, because now people are like, well, you need to vote like this because then this person's doing all this, and then if you say that, then they're going to be bad, and then you won't get elected next term, and then you can't do anything, and then you're like,
It's a horrible.
it's like a
Well, it's like the absurdity of only people who have never sought mental health treatment can run for office, right? So do you really want crazy people who have never sought therapy?
really.
like a catch-22.
Look what happened now.
But it's all spun, right? It's like, so you got evaluated by a therapist, right? What does that mean? What are you doing?
Really?
Well, that's probably better than the crazy person that hasn't been evaluated.
That's
I was
what I'm
gonna say,
saying. Look where we are
People that
now.
go to therapy that I know are some of the most healthy people.
Yes,
because
yes.
They let things out.
That's too sensible. That's too.
Would
Well,
you-
I
would you like a
remember
poli-
Eagleton. Do you remember him?
Who?
Eagleton.
Eagleton.
What was it? Eagleton? The guy who was almost chosen to be a running mate for.
Oh.
Yeah.
What was that?
Yeah, and he'd undergone treatment for depression. or something
Yes.
like that. Gone. He was gone.
You know what?
Really, we should have a
person's
congressional therapist to give them awesome guidance.
I'm pretty
I
sure
don't
they
like
got,
that personally.
Yeah, they
I think
probably
that's.
they gotta have somebody in the
Yeah, I
White
don't
House, like,
It's just on the down low.
Yeah.
Really?
yeah.
Really?
They have to. Think about it. How much pressure?
Yeah, I know,
They
right?
gotta have some type of license, the best.
And
They call it
they
a
have
counselor or
they have a health
something.
care plan that'll
Counselor.
cover it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you notice how Congress does exempt itself from everything.
Yeah.
They have
Everything, right?
they
Everything.
have this crazy,
That's-
great
Yeah.
health plan.
That's what gets me. Like, John McCain shows up today, right? Like, man got brain cancer. He shows up to go ahead and vote.
Yeah.
I would,
to pass
I would love it
to
if he came and voted no.
No, he didn't.
No, he was
voted
against
to
them.
go again.
No.
He said he will not vote.
He did say that.
Will not vote for that
But
bill.
he did. But
He
he
only
did
voted
go
for
ahead
it to
and
go
vote
ahead of
vote
shutdown.
to
To
the-
talk to
yeah,
it, to talk
Yeah.
about it.
yeah, to talk
Okay,
about
he
it.
won't vote for
And
the
if you
bill as
watch
it
the
is.
whole
Yes, it is.
speech,
Okay.
That's true.
if you watch the
wants-
whole speech, it was pretty amazing. It
Yeah.
was going
Yeah.
back in time to when we were together. You can't do it
all
without the other
fluff.
side. Well,
It's all fluff.
really?
Is it all
I
fluff?
don't know.
I don't think-
You don't
okay,
think he had a
No, because I mean, if you have that much conviction about this being bad for the American public, why would you go ahead and allow it even get to the point where it can be voted on?
Well, you don't think with his brain
Well-
cancer
But wasn't he
surgery,
fighting
what do they
it?
call it?
Although-
Coming to Jesus moment?
Is it actually allowing it to be voted on or allowing debate?
He's
allowing
allowing
debate.
Well, no, I mean,
It's
it's allowing
allowed.
it to be debated, but from that debate, there actually can go ahead and be a bill which repeals it.
So Democrats can propose amendments, Republicans can propose
That's-
And
amendments.
that's not going to happen.
That's what he wants.
But he
That's
knows
what
that's
he's
not going to
saying.
happen.
Really?
No,
So
come
you
on.
think he's just...
Come on,
Really?
You cannot work that long and see everything
All right.
you've seen so far out
So-
of the Trump administration, out of your own party, and think that the Democrats are going to suddenly break off and come up with the best bill possible. No. First of all,
You don't think he's had some
You
kind of
think he's
awakening?
hoping
He just almost
I don't
died.
think so.
He's near
I don't
death.
think so.
No,
He's always struck
also-
me as pretty principled. I mean,
Right,
I agree with
yeah,
most
me
of his
too.
Stuff, but he struck me as someone who was more at
Yeah.
least. had
He
some
wants the right
principle.
thing.
I
He's
would
probably
think
thinking
yeah.
that he wants to at least talk about it, and then
It's a
maybe put
political
some
move.
sense.
It is
into
a political move. He doesn't want to upset his base by going ahead and outright rejecting it, but he knows morally that it's wrong.
Although he
So,
ain't running
he's going to
again.
choose in
We know
between.
that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
I
let it
think
come up
it's-
to,
yeah, that's
I'm
what
gonna
I
let it
was
come up to
saying.
vote,
Yeah.
you know, or
He's
I'm going
not-
to let it come up to debate.
He's not
and,
thinking about re-election.
you know,
I'll tell you that.
Well, still, though,
Well,
his legacy. It's
well,
his legacy.
But we can't subvert the very institutions we're trying to support. I mean, what's led to such opposition to the Republican plan has been in part the fact they keep doing it in secret.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one's ready.
So yeah,
Exactly.
even
Right.
though we may come out with a bad result, by our opinion, I think there's an argument that you do have to allow open public debate on these issues.
I'm not sure I agree with that.
Why?
Because otherwise, what else are you going to do?
I would say that
Because frankly, leaving it the way it is
you
ain't
have
going to
to,
work.
at
for us?
some point, you have to go ahead and
share.
make a stand against
You get a sip.
corruption of
Yeah.
our system. And I think that allowing a bill that was created in complete secret to come up to a debate and a possible repeal vote is letting those people essentially get away with it.
But aren't you bringing it out of the shadows by?
No, because guess what? We're not going to get any type of talk about what's actually specifically in this bill any more than we really know now, because they only got like 24 hours.
Okay, yeah.
They only got like 24 hours.
How
It's
is
just going to be another sideshow.
Like a
How is this
2,000 page
allowed?
bill.
I don't understand how it's not.
Yeah, but it is allowed, but nothing's happened.
No,
You know, you
that
have to-
it's not out in the
nobody's-
open that
but it-
everybody reads this bill.
And,
How is that
and
allowed?
nobody's been happy with it, and you know what? It hasn't
the
worked.
Republicans-
But it hasn't worked. They haven't been able to bring it to a vote. They haven't gotten enough votes. So obviously,
Because they're not, because they
Although,
weren't open.
what,
with
they
it
really
in the
only
first
have
place.
24 hours of debate?
Yeah, they have like
Something
20
like
hours or
that.
something to
Yeah.
debate, and that's it.
Because they're
Yeah,
on
it's just-
vacation.
Exactly. My friend.
Just-
It's
which
a
is
week
more
off,
important.
that's
Yeah,
all it is.
they have
I'm glad that
vacation,
didn't get caught on
like, they go-
microphone.
but that's not going to work either. And then we'll go to the next step.
Exactly. So, you know, John McCain coming out there saying that it's just a more political posturing. And I feel like if you care that much about it, you wouldn't have even tried to let it come up to a debate, to add more politics to the mix, you know, to add more flames to it. I mean, you already know that nobody wants this bill.
Well, maybe he's
Although
hoping that if they
curious,
talk about
you
it,
may-
people will realize how bad it is. You know, it'll become more maybe
Right.
open to the public
Yeah.
generally. That
People already,
like, it's
people
terrible.
have an idea of how bad it is.
Although you made two statements. You said more politics and more flames. Are they synonymous? What is politics? Our country is built on it.
Well, when I say politics, I mean more inflammatory, media-driven, dramatic politics
And
that has no substance.
Well, and may I put forth the idea that if that's what politics has come to be now, it has been debased beyond the usable tool that it was once in order to create the very country we sit in
It
today.
Yeah,
seems like it has.
Yeah.
People say, "Oh, that's
You're right.
politicking," to mean like the drama,
Yeah.
and not
Yeah.
to actually
I
mean
think it
like
would
the
have been
job.
braver of McCain to actually just not let it not to stop feeding the fire. To go ahead and at least this one time cap it off.
Wait, so you're saying he should have done what?
He should have come and said
Shown up.
He should
no.
have voted against it coming up to
Not
debate.
even worth
so it wouldn't
debating.
even got there.
And then what?
They would have
As-
to go back to the drawing.
I believe we've shifted the topic of this
Yeah,
conversation.
well,
It's all right. It's
It's
all right.
okay
But
with me.
frankly, there's
It's fine.
only one provider of individual health care plans in Georgia now. It's Blue Cross Blue Shield. Some states have no provider of individual
problem.
health care plans. How can that be solved except by politics?
I agree that there needs to be politics and talking in the mix. But what I'm saying is that the context that this this bill is being debated under is not constructive politics. It's destructive, inflammatory partisanship. It's dramatized politics that is not getting anything done.
Right, and that's exactly what he said today.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder if now there's over debate, it's also open to a motion to extend the period of debate. I don't know.
These guys
Right.
are not
I
going
don't
to
know
debate.
enough about
They're not going
Right.
to. He
congressional
knows
procedure.
it. We know it. That because John McCain got up there and said, maybe you guys should work together, that they're not going to change overnight and be like, you know what? I think we should go ahead and scrap this whole deal and come up with something that's good for the American people.
Right, but if he's not
It's
going
not
to vote for this
realistic.
bill as it is, there'll be other Republicans that aren't voting for this bill
Yeah,
as
should-
it is,
well,
and
I
it's
don't know.
not going
There
to
are.
be.
Well, those three
tiebreaker.
chicks
Right, so it's
yesterday
not
It'll be
were
a
gonna
like,
pass.
tiebreaker just like it was right now.
Funny.
No, because some are way off to the right of it, and some are on the other side.
Yeah, they
So
disagree,
they're not
but
in
for opposite
unison.
reasons.
They hate it for exactly for opposite reasons. That's
Although-
the line they're in, which is kind of funny.
Although curious,
So
to
it's
try
too
to
much,
shape
it's
it,
not
to try to shape it a little bit back towards what the original topic is. Have
Yeah.
you noticed whose voice is missing?
Women.
No.
That is true.
Most people.
What does Blue Cross Blue Shield want? What does Aetna want? What does United Healthcare want?
Oh, I'm sure that.
What do they want in order to make this a viable healthcare bill?
They also want
I haven't
reliability.
heard.
If
Well, the
there's all
guy-
this going up in the air, they're like, I don't know if I want it on that.
Well, I'm
Like,
pretty sure they're
The
talking
head
to
of
the-
Aetna
I was gonna say,
came
they're
out.
there.
They're there, definitely.
The head of
They're
Aetna
there.
came out and said he was for single pay.
Okay.
They write all the checks for Medicaid, and Medicare.
Okay, they're the
And that
providers.
when they were the first ones they wrote the first check for Medicare, and they handle all of that. And single payer would go through a insurance company. The government doesn't issue the checks and stuff. It would go through a insurance company, and he was all for single payer. And of course, them being the ones that take care of it. Yeah.
Well, great, because remember, that's the only way to get to a single payer system.
Right.
Because they're not going to suddenly nationalize the business of, and I've heard various percentage points, 1/10 of our economy. They're not going to suddenly nationalize all these businesses.
Yeah.
They've got to have a role to play.
You're right. There has to be this.
But
at the
why
very
are
least,
those?
call it a transition.
But why are their voices so weak, but
You're right.
the Koch brothers so strong?
Are you sure that voices are
Are weak? Yeah.
I
I'm not
don't
sure
know. I
about
would
that.
I don't
strongly
know.
disagree. with
Well,
that.
if all the insurance companies just like we want single, well, at least one.
Well, that's one. He said that.
Said he wants
But you're
single
right,
payer.
Yeah, you haven't
follow
heard really
follow
from
the
the
trail.
others.
I don't really listen to what they say. Just follow the trail. Like, look who's funding which politician.
Right.
Like, look which way they vote and who's paying for their campaign.
Well, that's a good question. Good.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've gone a little bit far afield.
Yeah,
I think
I know.
we're basically agreeing corporations are good for some things, but not others.
Well, also I want to get to back to this point. I wanted to say something about Mark Zuckerberg. So Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff
Bezos.
Bezos.
Yeah, one of them's taking over the world. I think it's going to be Bezos.
Yeah.
He's a little more subtle, but I think he'll take over the world.
This will require some editing, I think.
Yeah.
This will require-
Well, they're going to do an antitrust against him, I think.
You-
Whole Foods.
Well, all of them
You
are.
can't do anything.
Well,
with
here's an example of like
Amazon.
corporate spin and I would say subterfuge and their messaging. So people like Mark Zuckerberg, they want all children to have to take basic coding classes. That's a platform. That's all kids to be able to go ahead and take basic coding classes. And he wants to go ahead and retrain adults. Not retrain, but the word retraining, re-educate
Yeah, but-
adults in getting into coding and become coders. And all these tech titans have been pushing this. Pushing for the idea of more people learn code and more people get into the IT industry. And their messaging is because it's the future.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
Sounds fair.
But obviously, there's
Yeah.
an incentive for that.
Well,
Big
yeah.
incentive, of course.
The big incentive for them is that if they can go ahead and get the basic population into coding, they have a higher hiring pool,
Sure.
which
I agree.
depresses wages across the board.
Yeah,
That's
but I think coding's going to be like a necessary skill for the next generation.
is it? Is
I
it?
think so.
I believe so,
Though
too.
everyone, all the next gen, they're all gonna grow up knowing coding. You know, they'll take coding in Spanish. They'll learn it like another language, and then when they're on the computer,
It's
they'll be able
not
to
true.
use it. And
It's
stuff.
not.
Why?
I would say it's not going to be a necessary skill. There's already APIs, meaning applications that talk to other applications out there that manages a lot of stuff that, as you as an individual will never, you wouldn't even need to touch anymore. Think about your phone. Do you need to know how to? Do you need to know code to access Uber?
Well, no, but
Or
I
to
someone
shop on
does.
I
Amazon?
understand a
Someone
lot.
does.
True.
Right.
So is that everybody?
And I
though?
understand
No.
how my phone
No.
works and how the internet works
Yeah.
a lot better than like my grandma does.
But that's not coding. That's completely
No.
different.
No, but that's
usability.
understand. But it's like understanding the language of like all the stuff that goes
But that's
on
like
behind.
saying
They
that's like
might-
saying you need to
even
know
if-
plumbing to use a toilet.
All
Well,
right, but
there's back up. I don't think anyone's saying we need to learn how to do system code.
If you imagine plumbing, there's a whole sewer network underground, right? And then you have the state which manages the sewer network, and it's pretty much solid. The fundamentals are there. If something breaks, you're not going ahead and getting somebody who knows the entire logistics of how that sewer system was created, in order to fix whatever patch. You're finding people who know maybe the basic fundamentals of it, and they're patching over that underground sewer system, right? So then you have another layer of skilled people in plumbing, people who do plumbing in houses and stuff like that. Those people don't know how the city drain work and sewers work.
But they probably have an idea of it since they're in that field.
They have a general, but they couldn't go
but
do
they
it.
don't know
They still
code.
couldn't
Yeah,
go do it.
I understand what he's saying.
They couldn't go
Yeah,
do
but
it.
you have more of a general idea. You
That
might
doesn't
not be
help
an
you, though.
expert.
What I would agree with Savannah is, do they mean coding as in what we would think? Like ones and
They
zeros,
mean
blah,
coding.
blah.
They mean coding as in like being a plumber in somebody's house. Surface level coding. They mean the lowest denominator of coding.
How to write
All right.
program.
Yeah, they have a basic idea. It's not that they can
So-
program
but
JavaScript, but they have
the
an
other
idea.
side of
So-
that is the jobs in the future are gonna, you're gonna have robots working in all the plants. You have robots in people's houses. Who's going to be doing the coding for all of those people?
It's
All
going to be
those
automated.
things?
It's going to be automated. The thing about coding is that this is a beautiful thing about API programs. Is that API programs are applications designed to go ahead and do coding itself.
Sure.
And they're also designed to talk
And is
with
that
other
what he means,
applications.
then?
So what that means is that if you can go ahead and create a program that is able to do the light coding for you, you don't need as many people. It's not gonna, the pool is not going to exponentially grow just because more technology is being invented. Actually, it's going to become narrower because we're becoming more sophisticated with our coding. So the idea is if you get more people into the pool of being able to code, there's, you will have more people out there with those skills, and you can say you can lower down wages. That's what you're doing.
Although, could I offer a counterpoint?
Yeah.
Imagine how many science professionals we'd have if they didn't teach it in school. The basic
Yeah, you have
the
to
basic
understand basics.
knowledge of how plants are how plants are composed.
Yeah.
Ribosomes, eukaryotes.
Right.
The basic ideas of the scientific method.
He's saying it's just as
Could
important
possibly,
to know
yeah, could he be saying-
chemistry, biology,
Yeah.
botany, and coding.
In other words, it's almost as if you have to complete your education, at
Especially
least
because
through 12th grade.
It's going to be so much more present in life. It's just more and more. And so now people are making apps like everywhere. And that's like, they're not necessarily coding, but they know how to make an app. And like, I have no idea how to do that. I can't even fathom that.
They're using third-party tools. The thing is that
Yeah, but they're doing something that I don't even know how to do. So
just
they
because
know.
you don't know how to do it doesn't mean that it's fundamental to your existence. I mean, that you
But
need
if
to know
this
how
is,
to do it.
but if the next generation, everyone might be making their own apps for whatever they feel like
And they're coming
all
out
the
with
time.
everybody can already make their own website without knowing how to make their own website.
They make their own.
That's the
lousy
future.
website.
That's the future.
Mine would be pretty bad.
Yeah, not everybody does.
That's the future of technology.
Is it gonna hurt just to know? Like for instance,
It
I
always
know
helps.
that.
It
I
always
didn't
helps
need
to know.
chemistry,
Like you mentioned,
but
do
I
I need
took
to
it.
know plumbing to
Well-
use a toilet? No, I don't. But I know if I break a vase, I'm not going to flush it down my toilet because I have a basic understanding of how plumbing
I
works.
find it hard to believe
Well, no, you don't need
that.
basic understanding how plumbing works to not do that.
Yes, I do.
I find-
can
If
just-
I don't know what's gone
So-
past that
so-
toilet, I'll put whatever down there.
So Zuckerberg is making
You don't need those signs.
In
Signs on
Northern, it's
TV.
crazy
Don't
about
flush
it.
it.
I find it hard to believe that he's out there preaching people to learn coding because he wants to lower the pay of the people that work for him.
They know, not just Zuckerberg, I'm talking about the IT industry and the titans that are on top of it. Like, it's not just him. We're talking about an industry that knows that in the future, they know that there's a shortage in skilled Americans
Okay.
Yeah.
that go ahead and know coding.
Right.
There's an abundance of them
And
in
that
other
could
places.
be the reason in and of
Well,
itself.
the reason why, this is my personal opinion, the reason why,
Thank you.
your IT titans love immigration is because
I know, right?
predominantly,
No way.
their workforce is made up of foreigners who they can charge less.
Who's that?
Stealth
Yes,
bomb.
thank you. Yeah, I agree with that.
Who they can pay
There,
less.
have it.
Excuse me.
Thank you.
So let me just say this. I'm not saying that nobody it should not be taught in school. I'm not saying that coding should never be taught in school and nobody should know it, nobody needs it. What I'm saying is that these IT, major IT corporations and groups, they are pushing for a workforce to engage in a skill that is not necessarily going to be needed. It's not. I don't feel like it's going to be needed in the future. The way IT is going, you're not going to need to know basic coding to go ahead and get by. Just like you don't need to know, you really don't. It's a good skill to have, but you don't need to know basic plumbing. So put that out there. You don't need to know it, but you can still get by.
Okay, but
And
Somebody's gonna have to do
you know,
basic
you
coding.
take Spanish, and you might not necessarily ever use that Spanish. So why the heck
It's
are
a
we
skill.
taking that?
Why do you
It's a
take
skill.
math?
Why do you take math?
It's like, why do you take
I think
anything?
you need
It's
to know
good to
math.
know.
Yeah.
It's good to know.
Well, yes, I agree, but I mean, I don't use
How is
calculus in
coding
my
different?
everyday life, but it's
I
still
think
good
you
to
do.
learn.
I
No.
think we do.
How?
Not that count. Well, math to me is just logic.
Right.
We say, so you're not obviously, an equate, but
But like-
for instance, we have a saying, hey, things don't add up, or 1 + 1 = 2. Math to me is just logic, which will be where coding is, like to be able to critically think about things.
Right, and just
It's
have
not
a basic
necessarily
understanding of
numbers.
how
Right.
things work.
Exactly. Numbers
Although-
are just a
I'll be right back.
representation.
So that's the same with anybody who goes in the field of math or chemistry or biology is what you're saying, because that's how he's asking it to be taught. You're saying anybody who goes in the field of biology, because
no,
it's
no,
taught
no.
in high school,
Yeah.
their salaries are lower.
There's not
Anybody
so
who
many
becomes a
jobs there.
doctor, their salaries are lower because they learned biology in high school. It just needs to be a basic course along with like science
And so,
math.
and that's how
Or
you
at least
get
taught as a
interest
foreign
started.
language.
You know,
Right,
you
just
take
so
coding
you
in
have
high
an
school, and those
understanding.
who like it would go on to study
Right,
it,
and
and that's
computers are
what
going to be
creates the
on the
field.
president. You think they're bad now? It's going to be so on the president in our existence that I think everybody should have a good idea of what is going on in there.
Although, thank you for pointing up the difference between corporate involvement and political involvement, the contribution of corporations and government. All Mark Zuckerberg can speak to is what's good for his industry and his company. Even if he has great ideas on, wow, we'll cure the educational
Right.
problems in America by giving everyone a laptop. Well, that's a very narrow focus. Government is the only organization that I'm aware of that's actually appointed the task of creating welfare for everyone. You know,
Sure.
everyone else, I mean, the Baptists give donations, they're in charge of creating more Baptists. You know, their first purpose is their parishioners. Well, in the Church of the United States of America, everyone's a parishioner. And they have to balance the competing interests of everyone, even if I didn't vote for Trump, which I didn't. But it's part of his job to take care of my needs. He seems to have forgotten
I was gonna
that.
say, I wish someone would tell him.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
I like
There's
it.
going to be a need for a universal basic income regardless.
Yeah, I'm all
There's just not going to be
We're
enough
gonna have
jobs to
few
fill
jobs
it.
too.
Not
Oh.
gonna be enough jobs.
So
How
have
many
you had a
chimney
meetup on that
sweeps do
one?
we have today?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a
really,
good
that's a
meetup.
good meetup.
Universal basic income.
Yeah.
Did we not?
Yeah.
Did we already do that?
No,
We
we
haven't
didn't do that.
done
I mean, we always talk
did
about
AI,
it, like, we did
but
AI,
we didn't
but we always
really-
talk
Yeah,
about it like
AI
a little
is
bit
good.
here and there. Well, I always bring it up. And, yeah. I mean, that's good. I mean, that's going to happen. That's going to happen.
You think?
But,
Oh,
yeah.
I'm not sure. I used to be like,
Universal
it's definitely
Jobs
gonna
are
Oh,
happen.
good. Then
Jobs
we have
all-
to have this discussion
See,
then. If we have
well,
different opinions,
I-
it'll be a
of
good
course,
one.
like, definitely, I'm actually reading a book about that.
Well,
Yeah.
okay. You know what? You're right. Let me back up, Kwaku. You're right. as in an idealistic world, it would happen. I think.
But would it? Or would an idealistic world we just create jobs that we haven't thought about now?
No.
I'd say, like, how many shoe cobblers and chimney sweeps do we have today?
Well, in my idealistic world,
Coal jobs in the next generation.
I mean, when I say idealistic world, I mean in a world where we are meeting the needs of our basic population, and needs being food, shelter, basic resources, stuff like that. Having a job is not, to me, that's not it. So, in meeting basic needs, a universal basic income would do that. But that's an optimized world.
Right, but it
will
also
we ever get there?
It doesn't prevent people from getting jobs either.
Well,
you may want to live on your basic income that provides for you, but I may want a bigger house. I may want to buy a nicer car, so I could still go out and get a job. I'm still incentivized to prosper and do better.
Well,
but people that have lost their jobs because there's no jobs left, they have this basic income and everybody's taken care of. I don't see what's wrong. And things are going to get cheaper. I mean, things are going to become like as robots and stuff are making everything. Things will be like close to free. Like GPS is free.
What about
don't you wish?
I feel like
that's the future.
people have a need to be like do meaningful things and be productive. So I feel like there'll be more volunteering or art or something. You're going to be creating and doing something. You're not just going to be like, well, I'm going to watch TV all day.
You'll do what interests you.
Well, I mean, so many people don't go into charity work because they can't make a living on it. So maybe we have a lot more people helping do the charity
People still
work.
do things,
Well,
but it won't be just mindless.
It could be useful, but wouldn't it also constitute an enormous distribution of wealth to the wealthy again?
Well, yeah.
You'd still have,
Well,
rich and poor.
Because remember, especially without any effective antitrust laws or corporate controls, that basic income is inevitably going to go into the hands of George Soros, the Koch brothers.
Well, it's going to be some source.
In other words, because remember, it's only useful if you spend it on something. And if there's only 2 grocery store owners in America, it's going to go to them.
Well, it's either going to be it's going to be a governmental source, or it's going to be some type of outside corporate source.
Well, the government is I'm not sure I want to live in government housing.
Well, what's the difference between Koch brothers owning it and the government? I mean,
Right, but if you don't want to live in government housing, then you get off. I mean, you still get your basic income, but you get a job or make a career or invent something. You can still do that.
But would we?
Although I am very lazy.
A lot of those inventions that it comes out of, let's say, necessity. So maybe someone's very poor, they have a family to feed. That drives them
That's a
to
good point.
create,
Right.
to innovate. If everyone's comfortable,
Yeah, but Zuckerberg wasn't
spend 12 hours
poor.
a day learning this.
He didn't come up. He was a rich little
That's
kid.
true.
But people always want more and more and more.
Right.
You have this house, well, if I work a little more, I could get this house. Or they have that house.
I'm
I
not
want
sure
that.
creativity is spawned by just survival.
Right. That's,
Yeah.
It's actually the opposite, I think.
Yeah.
When you're
Human
comfortable
nature.
and you're safe, that's what opens your mind and thoughts to more things. When you're not
Exactly.
worried about where am I going to eat and sleep,
Absolutely.
you have a lot more things you can think about.
Although I have occasionally wondered if people aren't artists because they can't do anything else. Yeah. That's a rather cynical
I could
point.
think it would be the more opposite. I almost think if people didn't have to do their mundane jobs, they'd
Oh,
be
yeah.
more artists.
I
Yeah.
believe that.
Yeah, definitely.
And I mean, we'd still need, people working at, fast food places, but you could work only part-time there. You wouldn't have to worry about trying to make everything meet, and then you could go,
automate
paint or
McDonald's
something.
already.
Well, I know. You know what they actually call a starving artist?
You know how they do that?
Yeah.
Barista.
Have you seen Wendy's designs where they have a conveyor belt that goes through?
They have people
it's like-
actually operating them.
Yeah, they have
Sushi
people
prisoners.
call
Yeah, I saw a sushi place like
Oh,
that.
that's how
I
they
actually
do
looked
it.
this up.
You
It's
take your
very
plate off the
sinister.
belt.
Ten prisoners getting like 2 cents an hour to automate that.
So wait a
Sitting
minute,
somewhere
what
in
are they doing?
Texas. It's the automated machines that they're getting now, especially McDonald's is going to. It's actually prisoners doing that, getting literally like 2 cents.
Where?
What do
an
you mean,
hour.
what are they doing though?
Where is
They're
this?
the ones actually processing the orders. It's not actually just done with a computer.
Where is this?
This is here.
They're prisoners? Well, economic prisoners, right?
Yeah, but not in prison. I mean, actually.
What?
Incarcerated people. Which explains
private
the whole,
prisons. God, that's a whole nother
A new
topic.
attorney
just
general.
talked
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
tough on crime, tough on. Whenever I hear that, it's just we need more free labor.
More free labor.
Yeah, like
Well, although I did occasionally get opprobrium at a party when I commented, of course we need illegal migration because we need to use our illegal immigrants in order to compete with Chinese prison labor and Indian child labor. Although that was judged as too cynical, I'm afraid.
Yeah, y'all remember Foxcomm, right? When that was in the news in China.
Still, well, they still should
Where
be.
people were like literally like
Killing
killing themselves, working, living inside a factory, night and day, get up, doing the same thing over and over again.
Oh, yeah.
Or jumping from building. They had to put
He had to
nets
put a
up
net between
to
them.
stop people from killing themselves. It was ridiculous.
But here's the thing: us, the average person, would you pay twice as much for your iPhone?
Yeah, right.
You know?
I think I would. I
What
really
would you,
If more people knew,
They
because
would.
it's so hard to buy a phone now that is, conflict free. And you can't call Apple and say, if I buy your phone for twice as much, can I get it from a safe place? Like, it's like, what else can you do? But if things did change and my phone did cost twice as much, I would pay for it. But like,
we would.
How do
I
you-
guess we probably would, but
Because we could.
not the
Yeah,
general.
exactly.
Not
Most
everybody
people are like,
can.
oh, screw that, man.
yeah, like no, I'm good.
I mean, I might just buy another
Keep the
phone,
deals
but it's
coming.
like,
What did you say?
I might buy another phone, but I think some people still would, especially if you knew what was happening now, but people aren't paying as much attention.
Well,
But if you
well,
talk
it's
to
not-
those people, I've seen shows where they interview some of those people in that city that work there,
Yeah, sure.
and from where they come from, they're very happy
Then why
as
did they
crap.
install suicide nets around the building?
Well, although it's not
Maybe
just that,
some of them
it's just
are, but
the-
you can't just
Not
say, oh, they're all happy.
everyone.
It's
Yeah.
fine.
Well, plus there's the big thing about as other
It keeps our
countries
food
become
supply
more
chain.
Yeah,
industrialized,
but white people won't do that.
their standard of living goes up,
I was gonna say.
and which has the counteraction of our standard of living kind of going down a little bit, and I think we see that. I think we see that with like stagnating wages, things like that, because it's hard to, it's hard to incentivize a company to raise your wages when they can.
They can
Half
farm
of
it
their
out.
production is done overseas in some, sweatshop somewhere.
The unions
It's-
haven't gone international because it requires a pretty enlightened country in order to support that kind of movement. Frankly, it ain't supported in Colombia.
You could also argue that, I mean, they may be very much underpaid, but they're taking those jobs for a reason.
Right.
I mean, what's the alternative?
People
for
lined up
a lot
for
of
it.
people, hanging out in the street,
Yeah, I'm not saying that. I mean, it's
People
it's
complain
logical
about,
in
well,
this
Walmart
environment.
pays people, but when they open a store, there's 2,500 people lined up filling out applications.
Sure, exactly. So,
Well, did you ever read Grapes of Wrath?
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't mean it's like
I
great
mean,
opportunity, but it's
you're
a
right,
better
half a
opportunity.
loaf is better than
It's a
starving.
big difference.
Sure. Yeah, that's kind of.
The worst thing can happen to a small country? Discover oil. That's the worst possible thing that can happen to you. Suddenly Exxon moves in and,
The solution has to be, there has to be some post-solution, like post-corporate solution to our issues. I mean, in the future, if I think we're going to survive as a species and have a high standard of living across the globe, there's going to have to be some government, there's going to have to be some type of structure, some type of government that that moderates outside of the form of capitalism corporations as we know it.
Right.
It's like, but it's hard to imagine what that looks like,
So then you could say the root isn't the corporations, the system, i.e. the government. Because corporations only do what they can get away with.
Right.
Yeah.
They're supporting their own interests.
Exactly.
Well, I think the terms blend. I think that, the capitalism can become a kind of government form, It can, like, swallow
Isn't that kind
democracy.
Isn't that like called laissez-faire economics?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can become, I don't think that there's any political system that's truly separate from its economic system.
No.
And I think that the United States suffers from a form of, republicanism that is like deeply tied in laissez-faire capitalist,
Well,
economic theory.
do you think our society could agree upon a general set of ethics
Not now. Not these days.
I think we do.
Can't agree on
These
Honesty?
days.
Although, what does honesty mean?
I think currently we agree on some.
How about not selling your powers in office?
Yeah. Right.
Could that be agreed upon? Because, I'm generally against the harsh penalties that our penal system has created. The death penalty, certainly, not because I think we should be immune from death, but more because I don't think the government should put its own citizens to death. There's got to be a difference between the government and an armed gang. Because that's what an armed gang does.
Yeah.
I'm certainly not in favor of sticking prisoners in holes to let other prisoners prey on them. That's not a punishment, that's just hell. But there is one group of people that I would advocate dropping them off 100 miles from any road naked, and that's a corrupt government official. Because they destroy societies quicker than any armed gang, quicker than any corporation. All the way from a prosecutor who makes up evidence to a DMR employee who sells driver's licenses to a president who has substantial holdings in hostile foreign governments who can control his income.
Sounds like fake news to me, man.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna say, yeah,
Absolutely.
But the harshest of all penalties should be reserved for that.
Yeah, definitely.
All the way down to find the people who like barbarisms and let them mete out the punishment.
Well, the representatives we have is a reflection of, zeitgeist, man, the spirit of the times. It's a representative of, who we are as a society right now.
Yep. Representative.
You look at Donald Trump, and he is like the embodiment of all the.
That's why
Just-
it hurts so much.
Just imagine, in 20 years, how are they going to teach about this in history class? What is this going
Assuming
to
their
sound
classrooms,
like?
assuming they're not right.
I
Yeah.
think the event, what
Assuming
happens
we
in the
survive
next
this.
year or so, is going to
Right, determine how it's taught
Yeah.
later.
Well, I hope they teach that our wealthy representatives so lost sight of the needs of society that at least 25% or more of society decided they wanted a dictator.
So wait a minute though. Let's think about this. How do they teach or inform students on past presidents? Because we've had some shitty presidents, in U.S. history, some bad presidents. And at the time, people who lived in those times this dude is the most awful person
Nixon.
imaginable.
I didn't realize until I took, history in high school, whatever, I thought, I don't know, I thought they spied, and then next week it was discovered, and then he was booted. But I didn't realize it was something happening over 2 years. It was just this rolling thing that was going on, and it was big, and it was, oh my gosh, the president's doing something illegal. Yeah.
Watergate.
So it's I feel like they'll
Right, we're
say it and
living
it'll
through
sound
that
like it's in
now,
a
I
blip,
think.
but we're living
Yeah,
through
right.
it
Right.
it seems so
Turning.
drawn out.
There's an excellent
We
book
kind of
out.
gloss over our bad presidents.
Yeah, we do,
We've
don't
kind
we?
of that dude sucked, but anyway, moving on. FDR,
They do.
Yeah, look up the book.
Yeah. That's what we
You're on
said.
Google. Look up the book, The Lies My Teacher Told Me.
Yeah.
Can't remember the author's name. That's real worthwhile. Get on audiobook so you can get angry in traffic.
I would need to get angry on traffic.
it's,
You don't need to get
Yeah, but it's a worthwhile book because
The lies my teacher told me.
it's
Could you? Oh, I'm sorry.
well, it's a college history professor talking about how poorly history is taught in high school. And
Oh
elementary
gosh.
school.
Certainly in our day, it was pitiful.
Still pitiful because it never was intended to teach history.
Right.
It was intended to indoctrinate.
It's also you have so little time to cover so much.
Well, when I was in high school, it's strange. They always seem to start with the beginning of the country, and they always stopped for me right around World War II.
It always seems
Now
to
they
come
get up to.
around.
In other words, they don't want to teach any history where there's anyone still living.
Yeah.
Well, I remember in college I had the choice to take American history something like 1860 and post 1860. I was I want to take post 1860 because we had talked so much about the colonies and the Civil War, the Revolution,
Nothing
and
else.
it's but what about the things that are still directly impacting the politics and everything right now? And it's that they don't focus on that enough.
Oh yeah, especially when they're still living in Houston, especially with
Yeah.
Something what if there's something that looks like just current issues class.
Yeah, everyone mentions Reagan. It's like,
That
but
actually
who
matters.
knows?
Well, because they can't get those textbooks authorized through school boards.
I mean, I actually had in my school actually had a controversial issues class, and it was so disorganized, and sometimes like the teacher would just tell us his own personal stories about his wife and stuff. It wasn't even like it was. I hated
Just the
that.
name of the class sounds like it would be.
Although
Yeah, I thought it would be great, but it was.
Oh yeah,
such a
sounds
bad
great, but I
it
could
was a
also
bad
see.
class. You didn't learn anything new from it.
It would have
I
to be
did
very
learn things
structured
new,
to be.
It was just.
Yeah, that'd be hard to manage.
Well, that's a lot of what current history is, though, is people sitting around a table. I swear I saw this. I'm sure I read that.
A mess.
It's a mess.
I took a class in high school, and I was actually just going through things and getting rid of stuff. But it was actually an AP Lang class. But it was awesome because they would give us, like, my teacher would give us like 5 sources to read on like the death penalty.
Yeah.
And then she'd split us up in groups on a planned day, and we would debate it. So we'd be like, okay, you're for it against, and then we debate it, and then like in the middle of the discussion, she'd be like, okay, switch.
Good.
And we go, okay.
Yay.
But
Good
it was
teacher.
like
That's
so good.
Yeah.
I love that stuff.
Yeah, it sounds like your teacher had a hard time structuring it. You know?
Yeah, he was one of the worst teachers I've ever had.
Do we have anything for next?
Yeah, let's talk about
I
that.
wish I knew
Usually
something.
around 9 o'clock. It's 9:30.
Is it
and,
2 weeks from today?
Yeah, 2 weeks from
So
today.
we're doing 2 weeks.
What's the
Yeah,
topic?
we'll go ahead and do 2 weeks.
man.
At the other
It's called
place?
the parent meeting.
The
is it?
next time we'll
Oh,
meet
yeah,
up
look.
at Medlock Tavern to go ahead and give our podcasting a shot there, see how it sounds.
They have good tacos too.
Yeah, good tacos. It's bigger.
You
know,
can't make
it's,
it that day?
Ooh, I have to look. I put my phone down.
I'm retired. I could probably make anything.
But it's every other, it's every other week.
I was
Do you
on
have anything in
17%.
mind? Does anyone have one?
Well, we
I
mentioned-
actually put one.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Wait, what do you have?
It was whether torture was like effective and when it's used and stuff, and just if it's the means justify the ends. and
Gosh, I
whether-
have like such a clear-cut gut response, but I know that's actually not like.
Yeah, it's never that.
That would be a
Well,
really
it's
actually
bad.
good discussion.
Yeah.
It's so easy to say, oh no, but like,
Ah, I
what
see it here.
exactly?
Yeah.
So under discussions in the meetup group, there's a little forum I created where you can like kind of drop in topics as you think about them.
Now,
I
is
guess we
this
could do
torture in espionage, criminal proceedings, or in domestic relations?
Oh. Wait. Oh.
Maybe child raising.
I was thinking just I don't know, just in war.
Are you talking about the parents?
Just in general?
No, the parents
Yeah,
always
yeah,
torture the
yeah.
parents. I mean, the children always torture the parents.
I'd like to talk about,
Yeah, I can't do too many
Oh, you want to get your pizza to
basic
go?
income.
Oh, I wondered where it went.
Yeah, it's behind us.
Behind it.
I guess who gets
Oh,
credit
wow.
for that?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about U.S. spying and like intelligence, how that operates around the world.
You mean like influence?
Oh, you're gonna say spying or interference?
Yeah, but,
Yeah, I was gonna say that's what I was saying. That's
Wow.
a good one.
Oh, and if
Yeah.
you want to hear the Koch interview, it's on Freakonomics.
Freakonomics.
2 parts.
Oh, that'd be cool. No, I like their book.
Is it the podcast?
Yeah,
Yes.
that was good.
Yeah, Freakonomics.
And also Malcolm
Well, it was a pleasure.
I'm good, I'm good.
It was great to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Ellie.
See you next time. Take care. Same here.
Thank you for spending your time, your evening out.
Sorry we were late.
No worries.
See
Thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you so much.
Nice to meet you, Savannah.
You too.
Okay.
And
Your pizza.
Yeah,
when I get done editing this, you'll see how you guys sound,
Well, do we know?
I'm good, man.
What are we going to your site to check it?
I'll post it onto the meetup group site. They should have it. And, well, there you guys have it. Our first podcasted discussion for our current events discussion group. I hope that you guys enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed actually being there and talking about it. And I hope you guys decide to go ahead and come out and have a conversation with us. Assuming, of course, you are in the Atlanta area or you live out in the Atlanta perimeter. I kind of forgot to let you guys know that, hey, what we're talking about. The conversation was corporations and power, but I'm pretty sure you guys already knew that, considering you had to go ahead and find this by probably going to our meetup group online. Anywho, I'll get better at this. I promise. Lastly on the agenda is what we'll be discussing next time, which will be torture and enhanced interrogation techniques by the U.S. government. We'll also be discussing the events that happened in Charlottesville, Virginia, the white supremacist rally they had out there where one person died. So that's bound to be interesting. It'll be a double feature. Anyway, I hope that you guys go ahead and come out and join us for these discussions, or at the very least, you come back and listen to our next podcast, because we'll be doing this again. Hope to see you guys next time. Adios.